What started as my first coffee shop turned into 10. So I switched to the Spark Cash Card from Capital One. I earn unlimited 2% cash back on every business purchase, like this. That's thousands of dollars going back into my business. What's in your wallet?
Capital One Bank USA N.A.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, friends, and welcome to a new episode of Conscious Cool Chic Radio with Molly McCord. Thank you for joining me here live. As every Wednesday, we gather to connect and discuss the energies of right now. In this show, we talk about astrology and the current energies that are working with us, working through us, and coming up the strongest, and also some ways to really feel that you're in control of your part of the human puzzle, to feel that you can make the most of your energy, your choices, and what is best for you right now. So today is June 20th, 2018, and we are just about to go to the solstice point in the sky. Solstice is the time when the sun appears the furthest from us. It gives the longest days of light. It is actually a Latin word, or I should say it comes from a Latin word, and it means solstice means sun stopping. So that is the appearance, is that the sun stops, and that's why we have so much light and energy, and that's the long days, and it's meant to revive us. It's meant to bring us to a higher point of receptivity of light, and it's meant to open us up. Now, this is, of course, in the northern hemisphere. In the southern hemisphere, it is your winter solstice, so the days of lowest light, least amount of light, which is an internal time of going inward for the opening, looking at what within you is ready to shift and change. And this is a point astrologically when Gemini, we move from the sun in Gemini to the sun in Cancer. And the sun in Gemini is so busy, and we've been going and talking and doing and about town and getting information and hearing information and stories and tips. And then we need to take a break, and we need a breather. And we move into Cancer, which is receptive, which is like, okay, just give me a minute to sit with something. Please don't rush me. Please let me feel into this a little bit more. Cancer is where we want to slow down and enjoy and relax, and we want to go to water, right? You want to go to the beach, take me to the lake, let's go to the river. You want to have a new feeling of the season. And there's a desire to connect with what's meaningful. So as the sun goes into Cancer, we look at what matters to you. You know, everything can be busy, right? You just saw with Gemini everything that can happen in a day, everything that comes up. And now there is a shift into a slowdown with the sun moving into Cancer. And it's meant to, I get the image of the sunburst on the heart chakra of I'm just going to receive this light that is nourishing, that takes care of myself, takes care of my energy, takes care of my heart, takes care of my inner world, but takes care of my needs. Because in the busyness of the busyness of Gemini, we can forget our needs. And so Cancer brings us back to what do I need right now? And what do I need that really matters, which may look different than when I was younger. Cancer is a nostalgic energy. It's antiques and vintage. It's the shabby chic energy. It's, things of the past, where you came from, how you grew up. The nostalgia that comes up even from when you were in school or when you were younger. The other day I was in the car and a song came on called Bust a Move by Young MC. I grew up in the 90s. I was in junior high and high school in the 90s, and that was a big song for when I was younger. And there was another song by Summertime by Will Smith, and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith. Yes, that song came on, and to me, that's a nostalgic song. And of course, it depends on when you grew up what what nostalgia means. But this is Cancer energy. When you're like, oh, remember when we were younger and we had all these long days of summer and we were out of school and we were carefree. That's the energy that kicks off summer and what that means to you. So Cancer is known as a cardinal energy, a cardinal sign, and it begins a new energy cycle. It initiates. Cancer is an initiation. It is the first water sign. It initiates our feeling body and initiates into more of our energy field because of that. And in terms of the year, it initiates summer. So the next 3 months are the summer season here in the Northern Hemisphere. And in the Southern Hemisphere, I know I have listeners down there, and it's winter, right? And so you initiate what is needed in your inner world, where you need to go to reconnect with who you are now. And so it might not feel as external, but it's interesting because Cancer is an internal sign. It's we check in with ourselves. We check in with our feelings. And it could be that with this Cancer energy, you get a new awareness about how you feel about something. It's the first, like I said, it's the first water sign. And so we had Aries, fire, Taurus, earth, Gemini, air, Cancer, water. You're like, I've just been doing all this stuff for the past 3 months. Now, how do I feel? What do I need? I need a break. Maybe I need to just take a minute and check out of life so that I can reconnect or at least remember what has meaning to me. So these are the themes as we move through this new energy. And I have to tell you that more water in the sky, I hope, I'm going to be optimistic and say I hope that it helps move issues forward because water flows. And so we have the sun going into Cancer, Jupiter in Scorpio, Neptune in Pisces, and we also currently have Mercury in Cancer. And that is where we open and soften and come back to what matters, treat each other, the kindness, the compassion, the sense of you want to feel good about the energy you put out into the world, and you want to receive good energy, right? And so Cancer is actually, it's a receptive energy that reminds us that we have the ability to do good and to receive good. And how are we each doing that? How are we each contributing to that right now? Because there's some big energies going on, and we are moving up to a really powerhouse solar eclipse on July 12th that is so big, it's, how can I say this? Well, I did another show on the solar eclipse, and I can say that as I look at these eclipses, there's big world changes. And that is something that the best part of astrology is we get a heads up and we can understand that this is a cycle we're moving through and that there is things that come up that it's time, right? It's time to see this. It's time to be aware of this. It's time to work with this. How can we take the right action? How can we make the right changes? How can we do what's needed to be effective as people on the planet? And that's one of the ways that I look at astrology as well. Okay, this is what's coming up. This first eclipse, it's a powerhouse because it has the sun and the moon opposing Pluto and Capricorn. That is a challenge, power struggles, something, that's really contentious. And here in the United States, we're currently dealing with a very big issue. Well, we're always dealing with a big issue, I'd say, that is all about the immigration, separation of children from their parents at the border. Yes, immigration is a complicated topic, and there are different ways to approach such a topic. But, Cancer is families, and Capricorn is the government. So right there, it's very clear that with the eclipse on July 12th, something needs to change and come to a head, if not sooner. This particular topic has just gutted me, and it's been an interesting way to check in with my own energy, because you hear these stories, and, throughout humanity's existence, there's been horrible stories of things we've done to each other, and war brings up a lot of these topics. Any kind of struggle, the issues of refugees and immigrants is a long-standing human issue. It's a big deal in Europe with African immigrants coming to the European continent. It's big here in North America. It's not simply an American issue. It's big all around the world, migration and human travel. And, I think there's many different arguments for that. But what we're looking at here, my friends, is that we're in the age of Aquarius. And that's one of the bigger cycles. And Aquarius is the people. How do we treat the people? How do we treat each other? We have different cultures and genders and political views, and we have different socioeconomic status and different beliefs and, all these things that separate us. But the age of Aquarius is, how do we unite? And how are we doing with that? And maybe we're all getting a giant F on our report cards. Maybe we're not doing as much as we can. Again, these things are complicated, and there's no clear way to quickly resolve them. But what we're seeing here in the bigger picture is that it's time for these things to be seen so that we can have the new solutions. And the United States is a Cancer country. July 4th holiday is the Cancer, Sun in Cancer, and so we're dealing with some bigger themes here around safety. Cancer is about defense, how we defend ourselves and how we feel safe, and what that means, and what's real and what's not real. So you quickly have very clear astrology here that there's some big shifts that are happening and need to happen in the U.S. And I think it's fascinating how not only is the United States have the sun in Cancer, but has the moon in Aquarius, which is the people, right? The United States Declaration of Independence, we the people, was signed when the moon was in Aquarius. And it's known that some of the Masonries and men who were signing the Declaration of Independence were astrologers or aware of it. And not that that was public, but that was something that they were aware of. So this is a very important time in things changing, and that extends to the world and the shifts in the world and the shifts that this summer is bringing about with these eclipses. I intentionally don't bring up a lot of political topics in this show because this is astrology show and it's not a political show. But to be honest and forthright with you, politics is my background. It is my education is in political science and gender studies. My master's degree is international relations and diplomacy. I've worked in different government agencies and places at the city level, county level, international level. I was, working for the ambassador in Paris, and I would go to these meetings, had the credentials, flashed my badge, and it was meetings with 30 ambassadors from 30 countries. It was a very cool space, a beautiful chateau, and they would set up the tables in a U shape and a gorgeous ballroom, and mostly white men, one female would be the ambassadors, and talking about what the country stood and what was important. And, diplomacy is slow, okay? It's not a fast-moving thing. There's lots of conversations and back and forth, and it's like everyone sits in the living room and shares what they need to share. And what I could sense and just what you could feel is like, well, is this the place to make change? Is it within politics or is it outside of it? I remember sitting in those meetings and, I had numerous personal revelations about my career path that this wasn't for me. It is Capricorn energy. It is structure. It is Saturn. It is hierarchy, authority, responsibility, duty, and that's necessary. There's good things that are about that, and then there's the other side of it is how effective is this? And because we're in the age of Aquarius, my friends, and because the South Node is in Aquarius and Mars is going retrograde in Aquarius, the people are angry. The people want change. The people are ready to change the structures outside of these Capricornian places, structures, systems. And Pluto moving through Capricorn is showing us what that looks like. And transformation is deep and it's difficult. And it is sometimes a long process. And what I feel so strongly is that we can't wait for the government to figure things out or to figure out politics. Like, this is just a general theme here, depending on where you are in the world. What the age of Aquarius is showing us is that we, the people, are claiming back that power and what that means and how we decide we treat each other and what we do about it. It's the activists. It's the revolutionaries. It's the rebels. It's that sense of you're taking too long. There was a beautiful story I saw on a U.S. program called 60 Minutes about a professional chef who went to Puerto Rico and just brought in the food. And he's like, we're not going to wait for policy to change. It's time now. People are hungry today. Today they need food. And so a lot of what we're seeing here is going to come up this summer of people need help today. Children in cages and 13-year-olds taking care of 3-month-old babies and all of the things that aren't working. I mean, people need help today. And I think that what we're seeing here is this overthrow of patriarchal systems that are outdated, and we know it, and we all don't know what to do. Like, you get that, well, what do I do? And so each of us, you do what you can with where you're at and what you have. Last night I donated money to an awesome organization called TogetherRising.com, where they are hiring lawyers and legal teams to support families who need legal representation at the border. There's other ways to help, and simply doing the visualizations. I visualized archangels with children of the world, mind you, not just, I know that there's populations of people who need support right now. And so with our spiritual work, what we can do is activate those energies of light, those angels, that angelic presence. Like, this is just free, right? You just do this wherever you are. This is part of how we are taking care of each other energetically. And again, how we're understanding the we are one principles and the collective energy forces that we use to support one another. So the astrology of this summer is big, and it is activating different parts of the globe in different ways. Of course, last summer we had that big talk and ongoing discussions about the total solar eclipse across the United States. Well, clearly we're still seeing that energy now in what has to change in the U.S., the new chapter, what needs to move forward, what's outdated, what's antique, what is no longer working, and where we move it forward. And then this upcoming total lunar eclipse that's going to be on July 27th, I'll be doing a separate show on that to go deeper into it. Well, that total lunar eclipse covers a good portion of the continent of Africa, Europe, the Middle East, India. And so it activates those parts of the globe. Again, that's the total lunar eclipse. So we're going to hear more stories about peoples groups of peoples, whether they are migrants, whether it is just, tribes and maybe, terrorism. I mean, all the different ways that we can put groups of people together. This is a lunar eclipse that's on the south node conjunct Mars at the moon in Aquarius at 4 degrees. We are getting a reality check about humanity. And I feel like, so back to my personal story, I didn't go into politics, clearly, because it wasn't fast enough for me, and I have too much fire in my chart, and I'm like, this needs to go, so clearly then, I should be a professional astrologer. But there's other ways we do change. There's other ways we improve the world, and so get what you do to improve the world. And I feel that there is more recognition here of how we integrate the 5D energies and the 3D energies, of how we integrate what we've learned back into places that need it the most, in whatever energetic form that is for you, that you can contribute, that you can offer. It can be just getting, something on social media, or, there's so many ways to do it for free. But understand that this is a time when all of us are here. This is a very intentional time in a soul's choice to be here, to do what you can for yourself, your family, your community, and humanity. We all have these multiple layers in our energies that support this deep transformation. And I wasn't expecting to get so emotional as I talked about this, but that's okay. I like it to get emotional. I accept that about myself. And I think that it just is a reminder of what is important and what is not. And that's what you're going to feel this summer in your own life. With the changes coming up, with these big energy shifting, with a lot of planets in retrograde, you're returning to what is important to you, and it's going to look different. It will. It's going to look different by September and October. It's going to be perhaps clearer even, where you get that sense of, this is what I want to include in my life. This is where it matters to me. To be present, to contribute, to do my work, to follow the right career, to follow the right path, to do this for my family. There's a sense of deeper commitment to yourself with these energies. And you get rid of the riffraff, so to speak. You get rid of the debris and what doesn't matter. So just know that this is a big summer. It's a big summer, my friends, and we're all going to feel it. We already are. We already have been. And there's more activations coming. There's more with each eclipse. Okay, and what I'm hearing is that we're moving through a period in human history where even in, say, 20 years, 30 years, you'll be like, I was there. I was a part of that. I lived to be a part of that change. I lived to be a part of the shifts. So if you were to fast forward 20 years in your life, 30 years in your life, we're all going to look back and be like, wow, we were there for these changes and moving things forward, moving into new ways of life, new ways of connecting with people that maybe we can't quite see yet, but it's coming. It's coming in another timeline because Aquarius is ahead of us. Aquarian energy operates from the future and brings us things into the present. And so this is why we have genius ideas and breakthroughs and new revelations. It's because the Aquarian energy brings us information from the future. And that's just part of this age of Aquarius energies that's moving humanity forward. And I know there's no planets. Well, there's the South Node in Aquarius and Mars in Aquarius that's helping us get clear. That's saying, do you want to take this forward? Is this part of the future? Is this part of where we're going? And then the North Node in Leo conjunct Venus right now is saying that's not good enough. Because Leo is regal and it's proud and it's strong and it's confident. And when it rules from the heart, when it rules from that place of what's good for me is good for all, when it rules from a generous place, okay, the generosity of Leo energy is something that sees that there can be strength that benefits everyone. And so we're clearing out these things in our own energy fields, and I feel it as like the Earth's energy fields that's so outdated. I'm just getting the image right now of something from the Middle Ages. Okay, like the Middle Age before the Renaissance, right? Before, it feels like it's not the Black Plague, but it feels like something around humanity's ready for a shift, even though we can't see it coming yet. And I feel it as this energy that's meant to take us forward into new places and new ways of interacting with each other. It's also important to note that the reason why Earth is requiring us to do so much work right now at a soul level is because it's the last planet to ascend. And that's because we have this density of fear. And the good news is that we did energetically move past the tipping point with the harmonic convergence, and that happened back in 1987. The harmonic convergence was an energetic tipping point for humanity that opened up more of what we're here to do to shift the planet. It put the planet on a different trajectory. And that's why terrible things didn't happen at the year 2000, because we shifted the energy way before that. And that had to do with the spiritual growth, the vibration on the planet raising, the frequency increasing, and all of that matters, and that's what we're doing again, but at a different level. And what we're doing now is doing it in the people, for the people, through the people, and we're doing it in a way that changes more of where we're going, where the planet is going. So the planet did reach a tipping point, which helped it in many ways. And what we're going to be doing here is moving it forward with new levels of consciousness. Astrology is part of that. Numerology is part of that. Akashic records, past life clearings, astral travel, like all the ways that we're working with these different energy fields is part of all of this. So I wasn't expecting to go into all this today, but I trust that it's what we need to hear and just to be aware of, that we're entering a chapter that humanity is really shifting at a deep level, and it's time. And it's not about politics is what I'm hearing. Like, it's a part of it. Politics, the government, money, power, these are all parts of the system. But what's happened is that we've given away too much of our power because the despair, hopelessness, fears needs to move through and move out of us and not stay stuck. And so that brings me to another point, that it's really important right now to honor your moon sign. Cancer rules the moon. It is so when the sun moves into Cancer, the moon becomes more prominent. The moon cycles can feel more intense. And you're meant to also right now be aware of your moon sign, wherever that is in your natal chart, because that is how you process emotions. And depending on your moon sign, you will need to have a way to release the pressure. So, for example, yesterday I was folding laundry because my life is very glamorous, and I was starting to cry because I needed to get out these feelings I have about some things that are happening on the planet. And I had to cry to just get it out, and that's how I process. Some people, depending on your moon, if your moon is in an air sign, maybe you talk it out, you write it out, you think it out, you do something intellectually or mentally. If your moon sign is in an earth sign, then perhaps you need to do something with purpose, something physical. You need to, do something around the house or do something, a project, like you move the energy by doing something concrete. If your moon is in an fire sign, you might need to do something spiritual or creative or active, like physically move your body to get the energy out. And if your moon is in a water sign, you have to feel it, to cry, to let it out, to heal, to do something to move the feelings through you. So your moon sign is how you release the pressure. And as we go through Cancer, please honor that in yourself. Do not judge yourself. Do not go into the shoulds. Do not hold yourself to a certain standard or expectation. I have a grand trine in water. I cry. I feel better after I cry. I love that I cry. I used to be the girl who was like, I never cry, I'm so strong. And I realized that was such a weakness, that I wasn't even honoring myself. And so I honor my water energy, and I allow myself to cry. And then after that, I feel a new energy that comes in. So your moon sign is how you have to release the pressure. And then you'll feel a new energy come in. So it's a bit like you empty out the tank, and then your tank can be refilled. And so then I felt this new energy come in around angelic presence for all beings on the planet who need them most. And I was feeling Archangel Michael energies, and I just felt that strength go to children around the world who need protection right now. And in all forms, in all forms, children really need protection right now. And so what I felt with all this is that part of why these themes are coming up is because we're moving through a cycle about empowering feminine energies. And the children energies trigger our maternal energies. So any kind of crisis with children is actually an activation of our feminine energies and our hearts and our ability to love more and to love bigger. And this is both for men and women, masculine and feminine. It's not about a gender. It's an activation in all of us. And we see where we're out of sync or out of balance. So I was feeling how these energies activate more feminine aspects within each of us, which is the astrology of right now. It's a very feminine energies right now, because we have Mars in Aquarius, Chiron in Aries, Venus in Leo. Only 3 planets are in masculine signs. Everything else is a feminine sign. So it's a very strong feminine energy right now. That activation is coming up, and so we see, well, how do I feel? How do I love? How do I protect? How do I care? How do I relate? How do I relate to other people? How do I share? How do I cooperate? So at a soul level, my friends, it's really important that we have these understandings. The children in crisis, the populations of people in crisis are activating more of our own feminine energies as part of the awakening process of more love on the planet. And they're part of a bigger group of people that are here with that soul mission to serve humanity. And so let me go through this process again. I offer it so that it helps you. When you're feeling a lot, you have to do your moon. You have to release your moon, care for your moon, take care of your moon sign energy. Then you raise that energy up by allowing more energy to come in, more light, more trust, more hope, more faith in humanity. And you allow that energy then to rise up. And what I see it as is the rising up of angel wings that are connected with the fears from the root chakra. So you visualize your root chakra, which is where we have our deepest ego fears. And once we clear that out, release that pressure, release those feelings, release that intensity, and then we can give birth to this bigger, empowering energy that I feel is angel wings coming up, sprouting, that help lift you higher and lift up your sense of what you can do or contribute or energetically offer. Like it brings in this new level of empowerment around what humanity is experiencing. And that is connected to understanding that everyone on the planet is part of humanity's awakening process. Every person is playing a role. They're just playing a role, right? Like we're just souls playing these crazy roles on this crazy human ride, and isn't it wild? And maybe we're all ridiculous at times, and why did we choose this? And yet we only chose what we knew we could handle, and because we knew we were supported. And so remember that part of it, too. From the higher spiritual perspective, everything is in perfect order. But our human selves, we look around and we're like, well, I don't see any perfection right now, or I see very little, or I only see this. Like we go into that human mind lens. And so what we to do is through the Mars in Aquarius conjunct the North Node energy of the anger, the reaction, the intensity, like that desire to do something. Like it's pushing us into what humanity needs, into what people need, and looking for new ways to approach old problems, looking for new visions. Like what is the future that we're creating? And, okay, I can feel the anger, I can feel a reaction and response, and that's to be honored. Like, that's part of the root chakra energies that come from our ego. But then you use that energy to raise yourself higher and look at what you can do with it. The action, the intention, what's at your disposal. Again, maybe it's just something on social media. It's something that you contribute your energy, even through a meditation, an intention, something. So I was, my glamorous life, I was folding laundry, I started to cry, let it out, felt better, felt new energy come in, felt the angel wings, felt like, okay, and I was talking to Archangel Michael and just saying, like, you are so needed right now to help children, to help people, to help parents, to help women, to help men. You need to help some men on this planet is what you need to do. And so I was having this conversation, and then I was like, okay, I'm done with this. Like, I wanted a break. I turn on the television, and I kid you not, what is the first line on the TV program? Some boy talking about Archangel Michael. And my jaw just dropped to the floor. I'm like, oh, my goodness. Like, if that's not a sign, that's what we activate, my friends. Like, this is where we say, okay, this is where my spiritual knowledge can be helpful, is that I'm just going to have a conversation with my guides or my angels or God, the universe, source, spirit, whatever you connect to. Have a conversation to move this energy forward, because when we do that collectively and individually, it's how we make these real big changes. And this is where our energy can feel like I'm getting the image of a drain, right? It can just feel like, oh, it's going down a drain. But then you put a plug in the drain, and the water fills up, and the energy fills back up, and you feel stronger. You feel stronger. And we are meant to honor our strength. We're meant to take care of ourselves and our hearts with this strength. This is the Leo energy, North Node in Leo, Venus in Leo right now. This is you contributing your love and light in the ways that you can. And that isn't meant to be some, spiritual platitude. I see energy so clearly sometimes, and that's how I work with it, like, how do you work with energy? How do you feel it? How do you sense it? It could be in your body. It could be something you hear. It could be something you feel or you know. There's so many ways that we each have that ability. Like, we're all psychic. We all have these abilities. We just have different ways of connecting with them and trusting them and believing in them. And the more that we do that, the more that we help ourselves and help each other. So across the globe, we're clearing out some big energies, and it's meant to shift for good. It's meant to shift permanently. It's meant to shift to help humanity venture forward. And if you saw the video I did, it's on YouTube, where I talked about this upcoming July 12th eclipse at 20 degrees of Cancer. I talked about how it actually is an initiation of energies that we're going to complete in the year 2020, which is only a year and a half away, if you can believe that. So we're beginning a new cycle here that's going to take at least a year and a half. That's because in January 2020, we have a huge lineup of energies in Capricorn. Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, the Sun, and I believe Mars, all lined up, 22 degrees of Capricorn. And it's signaling such a big change that we're already on it now. Like, we're already on this train, and it's already going down the tracks. How are you going to contribute consciously? Because you're here. You're here for that. And it doesn't have to be some big thing. It can just be like that visualization of archangels going where they're needed, of angels going where they're needed, of light circling the planet. Whatever comes up for you, trust it. Please trust it. Because there is a necessity for your contribution and your participation. And it's in whatever way that is for you, whatever that is that feels right for you. We are kickstarting with the solstice, the 3 months here that take the energy of Cancer, the nourishment, the ability to relax and soften, compassion, connection to other people. That energy then moves into Leo, which is the strengthening of the confidence, the solar plexus, the strengthening of self, feeling proud of who you are, feeling confident. And then it moves into Virgo, which is the service that says, okay, now that I know who I am in Leo, I move into Virgo and I offer my skills, my talents in some form of work, service that helps and supports other people. So that is the 3 months ahead of us that begin with the solstice. And wherever this solstice occurs for you in your chart is where this cycle initiates. And it's meant to carry you forward. It's meant to carry you forward. So we're moving through a big time. And we're already feeling it. You know, we've already been feeling the Mars turning retrograde on June 26th at 9 degrees of Aquarius. And he's going to be moving backwards until August 26th. So we have a lot to review and think about. And even if at times you can't see the way ahead, there's your future self that's already connected with it. And what can you do right now to take care of yourself, to return to your heart, to trust what your moon sign needs, and then to elevate that energy into a higher spiritual purpose and perspective that lifts you up and takes care of the fact that you're here for a purpose. And it's a beautiful purpose. So thank you, friends, for joining me in today's show. It was a very different kind of show, but I trust it was what we all needed to hear. Thank you again for your emails and your likes, subscribes, and shares on my new YouTube page. I'm honored that this is helping more people, and I'm honored at your presence. You can find more at my website, consciouscoolchic.com. And namaste, my friends. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next Wednesday for our next live broadcast. Take care. Bye-bye.
"30 Seconds to Mars" is back. The Monolith Tour. Mid-Florida Credit Union Amphitheater, Saturday, June 30th. Featuring Walk the Moon, Mr. Wives, and Joywave. City Card members get access to preferred tickets. Get tickets now at livenation.com. 30 Seconds to Mars. The brand new album America is available everywhere now. Part of the Clean Earth Systems concert series.